This is CBN Newswatch.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for CBN Newswatch. I'm George Thomas. We begin with a bill recently passed by California lawmakers that forces all taxpayer-funded universities in the state to offer the free chemical abortion pill to students on campus by 2023. State Senator Connie Levy introduced SB 24 late last year. My colleague Mark Martin joins us now with more. Mark.
George, the bill now heads to Governor Gavin Newsom's desk. He has 1 month to decide if he'll sign it into law. The bill would take effect in January of 2023. It requires student health centers on all University of California and California State University campuses to offer chemical abortions to students up to 10 weeks of pregnancy. Students for Life of America President Kristen Hawkins responded in a statement saying California legislators are recklessly experimenting with students' lives and health by advancing a plan to force school health centers to become abortion vendors, pushing chemical abortion pills to force an intentional miscarriage. These toilet bowl abortions would create havoc on campuses as girls are sent to their dorm bathrooms to bleed and pass an aborted infant in a toilet without medical supervision or assistance. Why would California schools want to expose their students and their universities to that kind of deadly risk? Hawkins asked. CBN News previously reported that the drug mifepristone, or RU-486, which ends the life of the unborn child, and misoprostol, which causes severe cramping, contractions, and bleeding to expel the baby from the womb, are used together in chemical abortions. Students for Life of America posted on Facebook a warning from a nurse about the dangers of RU-486.
I think the majority of women experience symptoms that they've never experienced before and don't know how to handle. And I think that one of the main symptoms that girls can look for to know that something's not going right is if they're saturating multiple pads in an hour, if they're bleeding more blood out than what their body can keep in to keep their heart pumping. That's a huge issue. But I think most women aren't educated enough to measure that. They don't know what's bad. They know they were supposed to expect a significant amount of blood. So how do you really measure a significant amount of blood?
The sponsor of the bill, State Senator Leva, tweeted, in a time when states across our country are rolling back women's health care and access to abortion, California continues to lead the nation to protect every individual's right to choose. Students for Life of America Northern Regional Coordinator Nick Reynosa said California is the only state with an SB 24 type bill, and if it becomes law, it could result in up to 6,000 chemical abortions per year and with no guaranteed conscience protections. George, back to you.
Mark, thank you. Joining us now is Students for Life spokesperson Christy Hamrick. Christy, what is your reaction to this new bill? Are you surprised it passed?
We had hoped it wouldn't pass, and in fact, Students for Life has been very active in achieving blocking it over the last 2 times it came up. And Governor Brown's own veto of the measure showed the success of it, where we could document that there are abortion vendors with less than 6 miles from every California public school and university, all 34. So massive abortion access and even support, sadly enough, to transport students to and from abortion vendors. So at the time when the governor vetoed it, he said that the bill clearly was not necessary. And I think that's really interesting. Even abortion advocates in California are talking about how this is not necessary. Governor Newsom's own finance division just a couple weeks ago strongly said don't pass this because of liability. And when we're talking liability for California public schools, consider this. Should a girl die in the context of bleeding out in a dorm room bathroom from these pills? Should she need have to have a hysterectomy? Should there be infection or a need for subsequent surgery, and that doesn't come soon enough? All these things create liability for the schools, for the health risk to women. Throw into that the fact that students, such as Students for Life, students at more than 90 chapters across the country, don't want their dollars to support abortions in their health centers. And in California, student fees support the vendors. And then let's add in the conscience rights of healthcare workers who took a job to help students in their day-to-day life in basically triage centers for the common cold or the flu. And now they're going to be asked to hand out these deadly drugs, which could end a girl's life. The conscience risks, the liability, and the dangers to women and to constitutional rights in general are clearly going to be tremendous and expensive.
Yeah, Christy, last few seconds here. Is California the only place we are seeing laws like this?
California is the first. Several other states have said they want to see what happens there, but there have been other states that have said they want to look into it. And that's one reason why we're being so aggressive in pushing back. And in fact, we will be talking to students and healthcare workers to see, would they like to file and be engaged in any additional legal action as their rights are violated. So this is a first in the nation effort, but certainly not the last.
Okay, terrific. Christy, thank you so much for coming on our show to talk about this important matter. We move on to other news. New York is banning flavored e-cigarettes amid what's being called a vaping health crisis. Governor Andrew Cuomo says he is taking an emergency executive action to outlaw the sale of fruit and candy-flavored e-cigarettes. This following an outbreak of mysterious vaping-related lung illnesses among young people. New York State Police and the Department of Health will begin undercover investigations across the state, and retailers caught selling vaping products or tobacco to underage kids will face some kinds of consequences. Officials say teens caught vaping will face criminal penalties in addition to civil penalties. The executive order is set to go into effect by October 4th. President Trump is making his way to New Mexico for a campaign rally tonight. This will be Trump's first visit to the state since he took office. Trump's campaign and the Republican Party of New Mexico both say the state could be a big contender in the 2020 election after he lost the state back in 2016. The president is expected to discuss the state's improving economy at the rally, along with job growth in the area. During Trump's 2016 campaign rally in the state, violent protests broke out, sparking riots, with some turning over barricades and others throwing rocks at police officers. We will have more on these stories and others this evening on Faith Nation. As always, you can watch it right here on the CBN News channel. We move overseas. Iran's government said it will not negotiate with the United States while it is under U.S. sanctions. Iranian officials are urging Washington to return to the 2015 nuclear deal. They say halting the penalties is, quote, necessary condition for starting constructive diplomacy. This as Iran's President Hassan Rouhani is in Turkey today for a one-day summit on the situation in Syria. Russia President Vladimir Putin is also joining him. The talks are the fifth trilateral meeting among countries that stand on opposing sides of Syria's conflict. President Trump says America is locked and loaded after Saturday's attack on Saudi Arabia's main oil facility. He says he's waiting to hear from the Saudis on how to respond. As Chris Mitchell reports from Saudi Arabia's capital, Riyadh, the attack is having global implications.
These satellite images show the extensive damage done to the Obqaiq oil refinery. The attack on Saudi Arabia's largest oil processing facility, not far from here in Riyadh, represents a major escalation in the battle between Iran, Saudi Arabia, and the United States. This strike cut the Saudis' daily oil output by nearly 6 million barrels per day.
That's about 60% of the Saudi production. And when you talk about the global production, that's almost more than 5% of the global oil production.
The impact is being felt worldwide. The price of oil spiked sharply, gaining 10% or more. And President Trump said he'll release oil from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve if necessary to assure enough oil for the marketplace. The Wall Street Journal is reporting that the Saudis plan to get 1/3 of their oil output back online by Monday, but the entire plant may take weeks to get back to full production. The local paper blames the Houthi, the Iranian-backed proxy that's been fighting a war with Saudi Arabia since 2015. But U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo lays the direct blame on Iran. Iran's President Rouhani rejected that claim and instead blamed Israel and the United States for the tension in the region. For now, the region sits on a powder keg that some believe has the potential to spiral into a regional war. How the U.S. and Saudi Arabia respond will go a long way to determine the short and long-term future of the Middle East. I'm Chris Mitchell, reporting from Riyadh, Saudi Arabia.
Chris, thank you so much. Joining us now is CBN Chief International Correspondent Gary Ling. Gary, this is extremely troubling. What exactly are the president's options here?
Well, they're limited now. He doesn't have many options. Think about it, George. He already has the toughest economic sanctions ever against Iran. So it looks like there would have to be a military option, if any, or maybe he doesn't do anything at all. But you know, George, as well as I do, that the Iranians would see inaction as a sign of weakness. Yeah. But he's limited on what he can do.
Yeah, Iran has passed the blame on to the so-called Houthi rebels in Yemen. This is a group that's trying to overthrow the government there in Yemen. Why are they unlikely culprits in this particular attack?
Well, because they're a ragtag militia. They don't have the sophistication to carry out this type of attack. They don't have the capabilities. Now, maybe if Iran was helping them with some cruise missiles, which the United States says 20 cruise missiles were used in this attack, and also 12 drones. Also, the Saudis say that, look, this was not launched from Yemen. It was likely from either Iran or Iraq. So this militia doesn't really have the capability to do something like this.
Either way, it definitely exposes Saudi Arabia's inability to protect its facilities. I mean, they're vulnerable, clearly.
Well, certainly, right? Yes, they are vulnerable there. So what do? They look to the United States to help them. I don't know if President Trump has the desire at this time to get into a war with Iran, because if the United States hits Iran, we'll definitely be at war.
Well, this is a president who clearly has, from the very onset, said that he does not want war with any country. He's been pulling U.S. troops out of Afghanistan. Gary, in recent months, we've seen U.S. shot down, U.S. drones shot down, oil tankers hijacked by Iran, and just today, Iranian Revolutionary Guard seized an oil cargo ship off the coast of the UAE. What's Iran's motivation in creating all this chaos?
George, I've got to tell you, last year at this time, Iran was exporting 1.6 million barrels of oil a day. Now they're down to about 380,000. And I want to show you what that really means. Last year at this time, for every dollar they were making, now they are only making this. 25 cents on every dollar. So the sanctions are biting them. They're being hurt. They want to see the price of oil go up when they do attacks like this. It does go up, so they make more on the limited amount of oil that they are exporting. And in addition to that, they want to see the end of sanctions. But I don't think this is going to do it, do you?
No, no, of course not. And oil is their bread and butter, the selling of crude oil around the world.
And the sanctions are biting hard.
Okay, as always, my friend, good to have your analysis on such a topic. Well, folks, coming up, a shocking case of euthanasia of a Dutch woman, and even more shocking, a court ruling that followed. We will bring you that story next.
Introducing the CBN Bible from CBN.com. Now, an easier way to study the Bible and grow in your faith. Highlight your favorite verse. Read separate versions at a glance. Click and read a commentary. Or cross-reference your favorite verse using the Strong's Concordance. All the right tools to study the Bible, all in one place. The CBN Bible, available at cbn.com/Bible or the iTunes App Store.
It has the power to influence weight loss, boost your immune system, and improve brain function.
We've seen an explosion of data on the role of the gut microbiome in health.
The free Build a Better Gut booklet reveals the latest information about the gut microbiome. You'll discover how your gut affects the rest of your health.
The gut microbiome has been linked to depression and cancer and heart disease.
Learn how to build a stronger, healthier gut.
The microbiome, if it's in good composition, are really protecting us all the time from more invasive things.
Get the Build a Better Gut booklet, free from the Christian Broadcasting Network. Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to cbn.com/buildabettergut.
You need to make sure that your microbes are working with you, not against you.
And if you order online, you'll get immediate access to the Build a Better Gut series, a digital copy of the booklet, and related bonus material. Build a Better Gut today. Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to cbn.com/buildabettergut for your free copy.
Here, we're committed to a heritage of rigorous scholarship dating back over 1,000 years.
And to a faith tradition dating back 1,000 more.
This is how we create a culture of inquiry where no topic is off limits.
And a culture of hope.
Anything's possible! It's Christian leadership.
And it's changing the world for the better.
It's higher learning.
It's greater knowing.
It's what makes us whole.
It's what makes us Regent.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for CBN News Channel here. A Dutch court has acquitted a doctor of wrongdoing for drugging and euthanizing a 74-year-old dementia patient. The patient had written that she wanted to be euthanized whenever she decided the time was right. She never said the time was right or that she was ready to die, but her doctor drugged her coffee to sedate her, then killed her anyway. Joining us to talk about it is Katie Glenn, Government Affairs Counsel with Americans United for Life. Katie, how did the Netherlands get to this point where a doctor is found not guilty in a case where he killed a patient who seemed to have clearly indicated that she did not want to die?
Well, this is building on decades of problematic legislation, on problematic practice, quite frankly. In 2002, the Netherlands passed a law that permitted euthanasia and suicide by physician. And in that law, they included that a person could create an advanced directive, which is what this woman did. And they passed that law because they said doctors have basically been doing this for the past 25 years. Every now and then a doctor gets in trouble and there is a criminal component, but for the most part, we are just going to pass this law to address what's become common practice in our country. However, this case here in 2019 was the first time that a patient with dementia was involved with this euthanasia law.
What does it say to you, Katie, that people in the court, my understanding is that people in the court applauded when the doctor was acquitted of murder?
I mean, I think that is horrifying, quite frankly, especially when you look at the facts of this case. The woman had created her advanced directive at the time of her initial diagnosis, 4 years before she was killed. And at no point at the time of her death was she asked or did she give follow-up consent. And even the judge said in the ruling, there is no requirement in the Netherlands to verify a current desire to die. So they knew that the doctor did not check on her consent before performing an intentional killing, quite frankly. And yet they did it anyway, and people there in the courtroom were applauding that. It's pretty scary.
You know, many people will hear about this case in the Netherlands, and they'll begin to worry, is the same thing, could this happen here in the U.S.? Are there any safeguards in place to prevent such a thing from happening? Katie, can you hear me? It looks like we have lost connection with Katie Glenn. Okay, we will have to move on. Katie Glenn, that was Katie Glenn with Government Affairs Counsel with the Americans United for Life. Okay, folks, we will be back right after this commercial break. Stay with us. Are threatening. Up next, why some think decisions by federal judges are threatening our country's democracy. That story in a moment. Don't go away.
Life. It's meant to be lived fully. Jesus said it. I came to give you life. Life to the fullest. Life in your family. Life in your finances. Life in your body, mind, and spirit. Life in your everyday. At CBN.com, we're taking what Jesus said seriously. We're here to help you discover life. Life. Live it fully. CBN.com. Want to be a part of a community that inspires your spiritual growth while winning prizes? The all-new MyCBN app. Connect with the community for prayer and encouragement. Track and set spiritual goals. Enjoy conversation starters with friends and family. And collect points to win prizes. The all-new MyCBN app. A great place to belong. Download the app at cbn.com/mobile. Grow, connect, have fun. The all-new MyCBN app.
Watch breaking news, in-depth exclusive stories and programs, from health to entertainment, you won't find anywhere else. The CBN News Channel, a perspective you can trust. Enjoy credible news reporting from around the world. Discover inspiring programs and stories of hope, all in one place from a Christian perspective. The CBN News Channel, a perspective you can trust. Check your local listings or visit cbnnewschannel.com.
Come home to the sounds of Southern Gospel from CBN Radio. You'll enjoy a rich Southern blend of bluegrass, classic gospel, and Southern gospel favorites like the Gaithers, the Crabb Family, and bluegrass sounds like Mountain Faith. So make yourself at home with the all-new CBN Southern Gospel, now available at cbnradio.com.
Welcome back to the CBN News Channel. Federal judges more and more frequently are slapping nationwide injunctions that stop presidents or Congress in their tracks and basically decide important issues for the entire country. Paul Strand reports why some see these injunctions as a threat to democracy itself.
Of the three branches of government, the judiciary is the only unelected one, and at times, the most powerful. The Obama administration faced 20 nationwide injunctions over 8 years. President Trump has already been hit with nearly 40. These judges often halt Congress as well, blocking enforcement of federal laws and policies. Attorney General William Barr wants to stop these injunctions. Writing in the Wall Street Journal, shrewd lawyers have learned to shop for a sympathetic judge willing to issue such an injunction. These days, virtually every significant congressional or presidential initiative is enjoined, often within hours, threatening our democratic system and undermining the rule of law. GOP Congressman Steve Scalise told CBN News it provides a judge near total power.
Being a judge does not mean you're a dictator or a czar. Again, you're supposed to be there interpreting the laws that are written and upholding the Constitution. And too often we see a judge that has their own agenda and they try to carry out whatever they want to do as opposed to following what the law says.
And that becomes a real danger if not properly checked, because who will check the checkers?
Jeremy Dice fights for religious freedom through the First Liberty Institute.
If the judges themselves are the ones that are going to decide what the Constitution says, and we limit that to just one individual, that deprives 330 million Americans of the process that we're familiar with under our Constitution.
Used to be Congress would pass a law, the president would sign it, and then it would take effect. Now if a judge steps in with a nationwide injunction to stop it, the president or lawmakers must slog their way through the entire judiciary.
The average case, I think, to the Supreme Court takes roughly 6 years to percolate up through the system.
As Attorney General Barr states, nationwide injunctions threaten to turn every case into an emergency for the executive and judicial branches. The way the judiciary is supposed to work is local judges decide cases for the people in front of them. Disputed local rulings go before district or circuit courts like the one behind me. And where circuits disagree with each other, the U.S. Supreme Court weighs in for the whole nation.
Which would give a lot more eyes on the situation rather than just one individual sitting in his chambers making the decision.
As Barr puts it, a Supreme Court justice must convince at least 4 colleagues to bind the federal government nationwide, whereas a district court judge issuing a nationwide injunction needn't convince anyone.
It always angers me when I see these activist judges, judges who are not elected, who decide instead of interpreting the law, they want to make their own law. And you shouldn't go to the judiciary because you want to be a lawmaker. You should run for Congress.
And 2 men who did just that are taking action. Republican Senator Tom Cotton and Congressman Mark Meadows have introduced the nationwide Injunction Abuse Prevention Act. If passed, it would prevent lawful policy changes from being blocked by individual district court judges. Paul Strand, CBN News, Washington.
Thanks, Paul. After the break, how one pastor is reminding us of the hope that can come out of tragic situations. And before we go to the break, here's a look at what's trending on CBNNews.com.
Life. It's meant to be lived fully. Jesus said it. I came to give you life. Life to the fullest. Life in your family. Life in your finances. Life in your body, mind, and spirit. Life in your everyday. At CBN.com, we're taking what Jesus said seriously. We're here to help you discover life. Life. Live it fully. CBN.com.
On October 1st, 1961, history was made when a tiny station began transmitting the first signals of the Christian Broadcasting Network.
CBN, the Christian Broadcasting Network.
And now, a new era has begun with the all-new CBN News Channel.
Just moments ago, the Iron Dome intercepted an incoming rocket right on the Gaza border.
In ministering in this area, spiritual warfare is definitely involved.
A 24/7 news network, bringing you the news you want from a source you can trust.
In Kenya, 40% of the medical services are actually provided by these Christian hospitals.
Let's talk about the economy.
Believers here are joining together to win people to Jesus Christ.
All your favorite shows now in one place. Go to CBNNewsChannel.com to find out how to get the CBN News Channel on your TV all day, every day. CBN News.
American embassy to the eternal capital of the Jewish people, Jerusalem.
As the nations rage, you can stand with Israel.
History is being written, and I want to be a part of it.
Call 1-800-700-7000 and get to life.
This is our nature as a country.
Discover the untold story of how Israeli volunteers are changing the world.
We consider it our duty to reach out and help others around the world.
For a gift of $10 or more, you can own the acclaimed CBN documentary To Life.
To treat a human, no matter what he is, which religious he has, which color he is. This is what I'm doing.
Support Israel in their time of need. Get to Life, now available on DVD. Call 1-800-700-7000 or log on to CBN.com.
And I wish that other people throughout the world could see this side of Israel.
Pastor Greg Laurie spoke at a special service remembering Pastor Jared Wilson. Wilson, a pastor at Harvest Church in California, took his life last week after a long struggle with depression and mental illness. Laurie's sermon focused on something Jared told his wife Julie about, and she remembered following his death. Suicide doesn't get the last word. Hope gets the last word.
Jared wrote a blog about dealing with the struggles and challenges of life, and he wrote, quote, "Sometimes stuff hits the fan and life is no longer the perfect picture we all hoped it would be. And although our faith in Christ does bring us newfound purpose and destiny, it is not to say that things are ever going to be, it's not to say things won't get tough. No matter what you're going through, God is still good. He's all powerful and he's all comforting."
Powerful words. Laurie says people even struggled with dark thoughts in the Bible. He says those dark times are just a reminder that we are hopelessly human and we constantly need Christ. Folks, that is it for this edition of CBN News Watch. We hope you will join us again next time. From all of us here in the studio as well as in the control room, have a fantastic day and God bless you.